What's up there guys, this is Cobb and welcome to a Sunday's Q&A, released on a Monday because I ended up spending most of Sunday pushing Legend on Hearthstone. Hasn't been one of these episodes up in a good while though. So we are playing catch up here. If you would like a question answered in a future episode, drop it down below in the comments, but for now, we're just going to get right into it. Max Jeffrey Moore asks, will you try Demonology next expansion after the rework? So Demonology is getting an overhaul in Legion. This one is kind of hard to say. I'd say that the chances of me playing Demo are quite low, especially if Destro is improved in any way in Legion as well. But it could happen. I haven't played Demonology as a kind of off-spec since I started playing in TBC. I just haven't enjoyed the playstyle for a long time. But depending on how the spec is revamped in Legion, maybe it's going to have some appeal for me again, so I will say don't expect anything, but I'll probably be staying Destro. A demo off-spec, however, isn't unimaginable. Juju8 says, hey Cobb, can you please give general strategies and explain the mindset we need to have as a DPS in a standard 3v3 arena comp? I had to think about this one a little bit, and I don't want to ramble on too much. But the basic thing that every DPS player should be focusing on in arenas is landing their best damage while chaining CC with their partners onto the enemy team's healer. I think that's about as basic as it gets. I remember when I first played arenas and it just felt like chaos. Way too much stuff happening to keep track of. So for now, just focus on your job, keep track of your damage. When you have damage ready to throw out, maybe you got a proc trinket or cooldowns, look for CC on the enemy healer. As time goes on, things like your arena awareness and your communication, your positioning will all start to improve on their own, and if they don't, you can start making a more conscious effort to improve them. That kind of stuff is a little bit more advanced though. As far as arena awareness goes, just try and watch out for when enemy DPS players are popping their offensive cooldowns so that you can counter them with your defensives. That for me is probably the best place that you can start working on arena awareness. But again, the really basic bit, line up your CC when you feel like you have damage and aim to get a kill, or force some defensive cooldowns from your opponents, every time you land CC. And land some damage, and just work your way up from there. Dead Ryzen asks, if you had to main another class other than a Warlock, what would it be and why? Also, who's your favourite character in HOTS? This one's sort of tough. I suppose it would have to be maybe a Shadow Priest, or maybe something a bit more derpy like a Death Knight. Honestly though, it's hard to see me even playing the game if Warlocks didn't exist. I'm not sure it would have held my attention for that long, but I think I'd go for Shadow Priest. Good instant burst damage, good MBGs, maybe we'd still be able to make some montages in SP as well. Mage did come to mind as an option, but there's something about playing what I consider to be the most standard caster that I don't like. I like to feel like I'm doing my own thing, or at least I'm doing something that, sets me apart a little bit, so on that note I could dig my own grave and play Arcane Mage, but screw that shit, I'll stick with Shadow Priest. And my favourite character in Heroes of the Storm is probably Azmodan. I love the feeling of controlling the map and split pushing with his hero trait, and just forcing the enemy team to make a lot of hard decisions during the game. The Mongo Ball dunk spec can be fun as well, but split push Modan is definitely my favourite. Pixie EU says, Cobb, I'm really curious about this. Whenever you play, you always seem to keep calm and never get angry at anything. Do you get mad, and if no, then did you used to be this calm back when you started playing WoW? Or just started gaming in general? Man, I used to rage like crazy. At least when I started playing WoW, back in the days, I used to get really mad at myself for not being quick enough with keybinds and all that kind of stuff. I still get irritated sometimes now, but I almost never get angry like I used to. I suppose I realized how counterproductive raging is, and I think I actually got that from making my movies in a way, instead of getting angry when something doesn't go your way, if you're not going to laugh at it, it's so much better to focus on how you can improve at the game. We still all get salty from time to time though. Certain games trigger me more than others. Heroes of the Storm was one of them. I can get so sad in Heroes of the Storm. But even still, I don't think I ever get angry, really. But yeah, I definitely didn't start out this way. And I can still improve my temper a little bit, but it is about changing your perspective. Most people who know me in real life would actually say, I'm a short-tempered bastard. Taking after my dad, it sort of runs in the family. But for the most part, I've managed to train myself to look at gaming differently. Kind of like a sport, in the way that you're always trying to improve or just have some laughs. Cole Pearman asks, do you think you'll ever be able to top Cobrak 17? That PvP movie was effing amazing. Don't know why I'm censoring myself. Never do that in any of my other videos, but hell. Really happy that you liked it, man, and I honestly don't know. I'm going to be starting recording on Cobrak 18 this week. And it's kind of scary to think that I'm trying to outdo number 17, so I'm just going to let you guys be the judges on that. I will say though that I think I'll be able to do a way better job on the editing of Cobrak 18. I can't promise that the clips will be as good, just because Destro doesn't really have the same piss and vinegar in its bones as it has done in previous expansions. It's not as fast paced, and it's just generally harder to 2v1 people with. But I'm going to push myself and make sure I get some really solid clips. After 2 months or so, if I can't get clips that I feel are up to scratch, then I most likely won't make the movie at all. If it's going to happen, it has to be something that I feel is really, sick. And I won't settle for anything less than that. Maybe it will be better than 17, but again, that is going to be for you guys to decide. And finally, Sondre asks, do you think pet specs will be viable in Legion, and what could Blizzard do to make them viable? I really have no idea what Blizzard's plans are, if any, when it comes to Warlock Demons, but I do hope that they make some changes. In PvP, they could do a whole bunch of things to make pet specs more viable. To begin with, our demons definitely need a health buff. They could also flat out reduce the amount of damage demons take from other players by a percentage, like 20% or 30% or something, but that might make some other specs OP. Speaking from a Destruction Warlock perspective, of course. I think that the best way to do it would be to give us some tools back to help us look after our pets again. Maybe use a Destro look, for example. You can target your pet with Ember Taps to heal it when it's in trouble, or they could give us a PvP talent tier, completely dedicated to demon survival cooldowns. You can choose between, giving your demon a shield wall, a vanish, or a permanent damage reduction like Flame Glow. That could be really awesome. It also feels like most demons just don't do enough damage in PvP, at least from a Destro perspective. Again, there's just no reason for us to ditch the huge base damage that Gruma of Sacrifice gives us in place of a little bit of sustained DPS from a pet that could die at any moment from a random Mongoloid one-shot. So maybe as well as making pets a bit more survivable, they could also give them a little bit more damage for certain specs in PvP, or give them some kind of offensive cooldown like an Enrage or a self-destruct button or something. That could be really cool as well. But yeah, there's a ton of stuff that can be done with the demons in PvP. Are looked at much by Blizzard in Legion though. That remains to be seen. And alright, that is going to wrap up this episode of Sundays. Really good questions. I'm trying to keep the answers as short as possible, but, also as concise as possible, and making sure, I'm touching all bases with my answers. Bit of a juggling act. But hey, I really hope that you guys liked it. So anyways, yeah, thanks for watching everybody. Apologies again for this episode being late. Blame Hearthstone. I will probably upload the final push to Legend on Hearthstone, here on the YouTube fairly soon. But until then, thanks again everybody. Hope you all have an awesome day. I'm going to catch all of you guys just a tad bit later.